Let's have a look at this integer variable from our previous video. In this variable, we are storing a student's roll number. But since a class can have multiple students, we need to declare multiple integer variables to store the roll numbers of all those students. So this is how we will do it, right? We'll keep on declaring these variables to store all these students' roll number. But is it the correct way? Or is there any other alternative available in Apex to store this data more efficiently? Yes, there are other alternatives available in Apex which allow us to store the collection of data of same data type. In this case, we can store all these integer variable values in a collection. The first collection that we are going to take a look at is list. A list allows us to store the collection of elements of same data type. So if we would have to store all three roll numbers using the list, this is how we will do it. We'll create a list of integer and we'll call it roll numbers, and then this list can have all the roll numbers that we want to store. In this statement, there are few things new for us. The first one is these angle brackets. Why did we use these angle brackets? So if you want to store a collection of data in list, then you need to specify what will be the data type, and you specify this data type within these angle brackets. Okay, but what is this new? Why do we use this new keyword? A new keyword is used to create the instance of a class and allocate memory. So if we go back to our example, here list is a class defined in Apex language. And if you want to create a new variable from this class, or if you want to create a new instance of this class, then we had to use the new keyword. We did not use the new keyword before because we were dealing with the primitive data types. For primitive data types, if you want to allocate some value, you do not need to use the new keyword. But for all the other non-primitive data types such as list, we have to use the new keyword to first create an instance of that particular class. Now let's go back to our developer console and practice this. In my developer console, I have three integer variables storing the roll numbers of students, and then I'm printing these variables into the debug logs. So let's first execute this code. And we see all three roll numbers printing here. Now let's modify this code, and instead of using three different integer variables, we are going to use list. So first we need to define the list keyword and the data type it's going to store. I'm going to name it as roll numbers. Then remember we need to use our new keyword to first create an instance of a list class. And here we can use our curly braces to give all the values to this list. So let me copy these values one by one. And let's not forget our semicolon here. And in the debug logs, now let's try to print our list. Let's comment our previous code, or you could directly select it and click on execute highlighted as well. Let's go to our debug only mode. And here we see all three values. The list is a dynamic data type. So this means you can keep on adding the items in the list. Let me close out all these debug logs first. And now let's go back to our anonymous window. And here let's add few more items in our list. So first we need to use our list variable. And then we need to use a method called add. So let's add few more values. Let's copy this statement two more times. And then let's print our updated list again and click on execute. So now we should see two debug statements. The second one should have more items than the first one. You could also create an empty list by simply removing these items here and use parentheses instead of the curly braces. Now let's run this code again. And our list should be empty in the beginning and then it should have three items. Let's try to understand how a list stores the data. A list stores the data based on the indices, and the first item that you insert in a list goes to index 0. If you keep on adding the items in the list, each time the index will be incremented. So that means the list index starts from 0 and it goes up to n, and n could be any value. So if you have 100 items, then a list can store 100 items, but if you want to store 1000 items, then you can store the 1000 items as well. Just keep in mind the list index starts from 0 instead of 1. So if you want to access the very first item in the list, you need to get the index 0. It's possible to update an item on a particular index. So this means if you want to update the roll number on index 1, you can do that. It's also possible to remove an item from an index in the list. So let's say if you want to remove the index 2, that's also possible. And you can also clear all the items in the list. For each of these operations, there are separate methods in list class. And now let's try to explore most of these methods. So here I am in my developer console again. Let me just undo my changes and I'll initialize my list with three items and I'm going to print these items here. Then we have added three more items and we have printed our list again. Now let's print one item from index 1, which should be this one. So if you want to get an item on a particular index in a list, then you need to use a method called get. So let's copy our list variable and use our method called get. And here you need to define the index that you want to retrieve. So I want to retrieve this roll number, which is on the second position. And since list index starts from 0, I need to give 1 here so that I can retrieve my second item. And I want to print this value. So there could be two ways. Either I can assign this variable value in an integer variable. I'll call it like roll num. And then I can print it inside a system.debug statement. Or I could directly print that as well. I could directly copy this statement and I can directly put it within this parenthesis. Both will work in the same way. Let's add a comment here, get item on index 1. It is also possible to add an item in a list on a particular index. So let's say I want to add a new item on index 4. So currently the item on index 4 is this one. If you count the index, this is the 0 index, first, second, third, and fourth. Now I want to add a new item on index 4. So I can totally do that. And the item after that will be moved to the next index. So let's see a quick example of that as well. Add item on index 4. And here I'm going to use my list variable. I'm again going to use my add method, which we have used before, but this time we are going to pass an index as well. So 4 will be the index. After that, I'm going to put a comma and then you can specify new value. The new value will be this one. So what it will do, it will insert a new item which is 4 times 9, 4 times 0 on index 4, and then this item will be shifted to index 5 and this will be shifted to index 6. So the total size of list will be 7. And since we are talking about the size, let's also try to print the list size as well. Here, let's print our list again so that we can see our new item. Let's also try to see the size of the list. So for that, you can use the size method on list. Get the list size, and you can simply use your list variable and call size method. Now again, similar to the line number 22, you can put it directly inside a debug statement. And then we are going to delete an item from a particular index. So for that, we have a method called remove. Remove the item on index maybe 3. And here again, we need to use our list variable. Then this time we need to use a method called remove. And this remove method accepts a index. So let's try to remove this item, which is on index 3. And again, let's print our list so that we can see the updated items. And let's print our size again as well. So this time the size should be 6 because we have removed one item from the list. In the end, let's clear our list or remove all the items from the list. For this, you can use the clear method on list. So we need to use our list variable, and then we need to call clear method on this. So this statement will clear all the items from this list. And let's try to print our list and the list size again. Let's execute this code and let's check our debug logs. So first we have got a list of size 3. Then we have added 3 more items and we have got 6 items here. Then we have accessed the item on index 1 2 times with 2 different methods. First time we have assigned the value to an integer variable and then printed that variable. The second time we have directly put this statement inside a debug statement. Then we have added one item on index 4. So that's why we see this new item here, and the items after that shifted to the next index. Then we have printed the list size, which was 7, because there were 7 items in the list. Then we have removed one item on index 3 from the list. So this was the item, and after removing it, the new list size was 6. Then we have cleared the list and the size became 0. So these were some helpful methods that you can use on list. Although there are other methods as well in the list class, and you can check the complete list here on this link. So go to the list class and check out all the methods from the list class. And you can try playing around with all these methods. Let's also use one more method called set here because I haven't shown you the example of updating a list item. And we are going to update this item with something else. So let's use our list variable. And as we have seen, the method name is set, which sets a specified value on a particular index. So we are going to use this set method, and the index will be uh, not 2, let's make it 1 because I want to update the second item. So let's update it on the index 1. And value we can give it like 44444444, and let's execute it again. We have got an error because we did not put a semicolon here, and let's also try to print our list after that. And one more thing, we have cleared our list before we are trying to update an item on index 1, And as we have seen from our previous examples, the by default values of all the data types is null in Apex. So this time we may get an error, maybe like array index out of bounds, or it could be a null pointer exception as well. So let's try to execute this code and let's see the output. So here we have got an exception and it says list index out of bounds because the list does not have any item. So we cannot update an item on index 1 because there is no index 1 and there are no items on list. But if you do that before clearing the list, this should work because at this time the list has 6 items and we can update the indexes from 0 to 5. And let's execute this code again. So from our debug logs, we can see that we have updated the item on index 1. And I hope it's clear with you why we got that array index out of bounds exception, because we were trying to update something which does not exist. We were trying to update index 1, which was not there in the list. The list did not have any item, so there were no index. So you cannot update an index if the list does not have the item. So let's say if our list size is 6 and if you try to update the index 10, you cannot do that because the list does not have index 10. So only if an index is there in the list, then only you can update or remove the item on that particular index. Wow, lot of learning in this video. Please try to practice as many methods as you can from the list class and do not forget to follow along with me when I write this code. This will definitely boost your confidence in writing a computer program. So this is all in this video. In the next video, we are going to have a look at another collection variable, which is called set. So I'll see you all in the next video.